Welcome to Joe's Astrology, and this is the astrology of me, Joe's Astrologer, Joe the Astrologer. And you're probably wondering what all these markings are. We're gonna leave them there. This is gonna be I'm gonna add some deep stuff here. Might not get into all of it, but these are the nodes, some of the nodes of the planets when I was born. You see here, south node of Mars was at 14 Sagittarius. The north node of Mercury was at 13 Aquarius. So very similar to the nodes of the moon that most people don't chart. And there's probably good reason for that, because it's complicated. Astrology is complicated enough. So let's look here at my chart. So we see, if you can ignore all the red, I'm just going to leave it there for now. We see that I'm a Capricorn rising. I have a sun in Capricorn at 25 degrees, and moon is at 20 degrees Aquarius. So I want to start with, where does astrology fit in my chart? Where does astrology fit in Joe's chart? Well, let's start here with Pluto. Pluto is at 29 degrees in the ninth house, and it's conjunct Saturn in Libra. So Pluto at 29 degrees, the critical degree in the Gemini decan in the ninth house. So Pluto in the ninth is known as being someone who's a truth seeker, someone could be a traveler, someone who's searching for knowledge, a learner, someone who's willing to experiment with life. Could be a teacher. And that's the first thing that I'm looking at here, that when you're an astrologer, you're doing a lot of these things. You could be a teacher. And I think primarily for me, it came through searching for truth, searching for answers, searching for meaning, through religious experiences, studying religions, studying the self, studying life. And I think that's primarily where my interest started with astrology, because astrology gave me a lot of answers that I was seeking. And of course, with Pluto there in Libra at 29 degrees in the Gemini decan, I immediately started to talk about astrology. I started to talk about astrology. I started to spread information about astrology. I wanted to do, not just study astrology, but right away I wanted to talk to people and learn about their charts and relate to people through astrology. Pluto and Libra. And I did that in multiple different ways. Pluto 29 degrees, the Gemini decan there. And then of course Pluto's conjunct Saturn, which is in Scorpio, and Saturn's in the ninth. And it's in Scorpio. It's conjunct Pluto. Pluto's the ruler of Scorpio. So this is something that this study of astrology has come about through research. That's how I found astrology, through doing research, through searching for information, through psychological work, learning about psychology, learning about the occult. It was actually through an occultist that I received a book on astrology, Saturn in Scorpio, the occult. And then we can see here it's making, Pluto and Saturn is making a trine to Mars at 29 degrees as well. So we have Pluto, Saturn, and Mars. And Mars is in Aquarius. Of course, Aquarius can be associated with things that are different, unusual, unorthodox. And we see my moon and Venus is there as well in Aquarius. But particularly that Mars making a trine to Pluto, this was immediately very easy for me. The science of it, the techniques. Of course, I had to study, I had to practice, I had to learn, but it came easy as far as I wasn't stressed about learning it. It was enjoyable. I could do a little bit every day and not have a problem with it. Just I was motivated, Mars motivated to do this type of study. We see that with the trine to the ninth, and it's also Mars in the second house. Uh, you could say the house of values, or just Mars being very prominent there at 29 degrees. And being in relationship with Saturn and Pluto, I was, you know, I had the work ethic and the drive to talk to a lot of different people to learn astrology. I've always been a very ambitious person. Anything that I've learned as well, we see that Pluto, Saturn, Mars trine. This is very good for sports. And of course, the moon is there as well. You could say the moon is there making a trine in conjunction with that Mars. So these aspects here have always been uh, good for me when it comes to sports, athletics, competition. So pretty much anything that I put my mind to, everything that I'm interested in, when I'm motivated, I can get it done, and I can do a lot in a short period of time. Now we have let's look at the Jupiter. So the Jupiter is the dispositor of the chart. I'm not going to get into what the dispositor is, but we see Jupiter as the dispositor of the chart, and it's making a conjunction to Uranus. We would say, I'm going to say a planet of astrology. It's making conjunction to, and it's in the 11th house, a house that is associated with Aquarian themes. Of course, it can mean other things as well, but focusing just on astrology, we see that Jupiter being involved in Uranus there, and it's in Sagittarius. So back to this idea of the ninth house, Sagittarius being a teacher, Jupiter is in a sign that it rules. So this kind of work of being a truth seeker, a teacher, is natural for this person. And we see there the south node of Mars is conjunct those planets as well. So we could see previously, sometime in the past in this person's in this soul's existence, you see the most recent past, the south node of Mars. What's the drive of this person, the energy that this person's putting his or what person's putting his energy into, is in Sagittarius in the 11th house. And the north node here, the north node is in Cancer in the 6th, and it's making an inconjunct to that Jupiter dispositor, an exact inconjunct. It's also making a almost exact semi-sextile. You could say an exact semi-sextile to Saturn and then Pluto as well. And of course the south node. The south node there in the 12th house of Capricorn. So this kind of study as well, we can see we're talking about very common themes here. We're talking about the ninth house, Sagittarius. And where do we see the south node? Well, it's in the 12th house, which is a house that's associated with Pisces. Pisces being ruled by Neptune and Jupiter as well. So we see more emphasis on where this person is coming from, being the ninth house and Jupiter in Sagittarius. And of course, it's hard to see there, but Neptune is also conjunct and moving towards the south node. So the south node's at 4 degrees Capricorn, Neptune's at 27 degrees Sagittarius. The nodes are moving backwards. Neptune is moving towards the node. And as life has gone on for this person and that Neptune has progressed, we have seen a correlation with that where Neptune, this idea of being a teacher, being a spiritual teacher, being an astrologer, being a tennis coach, tennis teacher, has slowly become more important in the person's life, culminating with where it's progressed now at Neptune at 29 degrees. Here, I would say it's beginning to culminate where this is the sole interest or purpose of the life now halfway through this person's life. And we see the south node of Mercury, the planet, the lower octave of Uranus, is also there conjunct the south node of the moon. So we're adding more here. We're seeing Neptune involved, Sagittarius, Pluto, the ninth house, and Pisces. All very much associated with these themes that I'm talking about. And then, of course, the backing of Mars. And I was a tennis coach for a long time. I grew up very much heavily involved in sports and playing games, activities, being an intrepid person, an adventurer, an individualist. And I would say that is the Mars has always been there to back all of these not these Sagittarius and Pisces interests. Capricorn rising. Well, let's go. So yeah, continue here with the Capricorn rising. What's the ruler of the ruler of the rising is Saturn, and it's in Scorpio in the ninth. Of course, back to that Pluto. So the ruler of the chart is involved in everything that I've mentioned thus far, and Saturn being the planet that gives great work ethic and responsibility, discipline. And when you're involved in these things that I've mentioned already, especially astrology, it does require, I think, to become a really good astrologer, it requires discipline, work ethic, morality. You see the ninth emphasis on the ninth house, morality, and Jupiter, morality, Sagittarius. It benefits a person to have a close relationship with natural law, because in this way I think they can really help people. People recognize that. That's what you want to see from a good astrologer. That's what you want to see from any good teacher. That they're not doing it for, they're not primarily doing it for to make a living. They're not like, let's say, a majority of teachers will be just doing it to make a living. To no fault of their own, that's just the way it is. But when you're talking about something as deep as astrology and as important as it is, and the effect that it can have on people, you want them to be closely connected to natural law. And I think you see that with the ruler being Saturn and being in the ninth house, that combination of Saturn and Jupiter, and Saturn and Pluto, Saturn, Jupiter, and Pluto, and there it is, Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto making a semi-sextile. And then we see the ruler, I was going to say the ruler of the south node is also going to be Saturn, that same Saturn. South node being 4 degrees Capricorn. And then you see Ceres. It's hard to see. There is the asteroid Ceres right on the ascendant. And how important that is to have Ceres on the ascendant, that this person could potentially be a healer. I don't think that I'm necessarily a healer. I think I have that potential to work with healing, and I could get somewhere with it. Someone who's a giver. There's more things to my chart. I also went through. I've always been a skinnier person. I don't think I've always had necessarily an eating disorder, but there was a period in my life where When that area was transited by Pluto, I struggled with an eating disorder, vegetarianism, veganism, and then eventually I had anorexia, which was a very serious time in my life, which I didn't think I was going to recover from. And we see that there with, I would say, this series is the ruler of Virgo, rules Virgo, Cancer, and that can indicate some problems with food, some problems with nurturing food, eating disorders. And then we see the sun here at 25 degrees and Mercury retrograde at 24 degrees in Capricorn in the Virgo decan. So we see more of those problems or more of those issues when it comes to Virgo, eating disorders. You could see maybe overthinking. All the Virgo things are there because it's in the Virgo decan, which is also bringing it back to this idea of astrology and how things like astrology and tennis, even tennis, has helped this person. South node of Mercury on that south node as well. This is a very mercurial person. Mercury's in the first house as well, and that would be, this person would have great analytical ability and whatever you put their mind to. And I have done very well with analyzing charts and analyzing the sport of tennis. So definitely this idea, it's not just Capricorn, but the idea that the sun is at 25 degrees and there is so much Virgo emphasis, even without Virgo even having any planets in the sign. But you can see that there is an intercepted the sign Virgo and Pisces as well. We're talking about all these Pisces, Jupiter themes, Neptune, and Virgo is intercepted here. And one of the books that I have, the Evolutionary Astrology Glossary, talks about the intercepted signs. I believe they say that it could be something that is showing that you've overdeveloped these energies in the past, or you're they're underdeveloped. And I think, in looking back at my life, you could say that they're overdeveloped. And we're also talking about intercepting the second and eighth house, which I could talk more about that as well. So we see more emphasis on the eighth house, Pluto, Scorpio. And of course, Mars is a ruler of Scorpio too, Mars being 29 degrees there. And we can also see the south node of Jupiter. The south node of Jupiter and Venus are conjunct the ascendant in the 12th house. So more emphasis on the 12th house, more emphasis on Jupiter. This could maybe indicate that a person would have good fortune around playing games, good fortune around teaching, good fortune around, being a responsible person for the community, like a politician or a community leader of some sort. We see here we have that moon in Aquarius. Of course, Aquarius again, the ruler Uranus and the moon. The moon being the really internal part of the person, being involved in that sign Aquarius that we're talking about being associated with astrology. And see, if you see this chart and you saw, oh, look at all this Capricorn. This person wants to just climb the ladder. And it's true, I was very ambitious when I was younger. Of course, there's a lot more I can get into with the problems with that. You can see that some of the stuff I've already mentioned, but you would think Capricorn, this person, that doesn't make sense that they're an astrologer or a teacher. But we see the internal makeup of the person. And you see Venus is there too, the lover. This person would be excited about things like astrology. And you see there's a quintile between Uranus and moon, quintile being like a talent. North node, north node in the sixth, ruled by the moon. So where this person is headed. Again, all this energy I talked about is where I'm coming from. You can really see that. Where the person is headed, there's no real emphasis on by aspects with planets, by conjunctions with planets. But we see the north node of Jupiter is there. So there's going to be something involved with Jupiter in the north node where this person's headed. And you can see comes back to that Jupiter is making that inconjunct. So there's an adjustment that this person needs to make in order to accomplish that. And I've had to make many adjustments to lead me to where I am today. And the story is not finished. The story is not finished for Joe and his journey on becoming an accomplished guru, Jupiter. Maybe I'll end up in a monastery by the end of my life somewhere. I don't know. We also see Saturn making a trine. All that stuff I talked about with Saturn, easy flowing. That's going to really help this person accomplish that there in the North Node. Maybe with Capricorn and this Saturn, we're talking about a person who can get through illness, who can get through struggles, and have a long life in order to accomplish this. It's not something that they're gonna come into life and see some success. And honestly, they might not ever see any success because you see, with nothing on the North Node there. And I've struggled with success, but I've also struggled with consistency. I get bored very easily, and that could be the problem as well. However, I also see that I don't see success. I still do not see success in the same way that other people see success. I actually don't want to be bothered. 12th house, South Node, Neptune, etc. I'd rather be left alone. But that's kind of why I do like the internet, because I can kind of move at my own pace. When I am teaching, I no longer teach tennis, partially for that reason. I do other things involved with tennis, but on my own schedule. So I'm going to leave it there for now. That's just a brief insight into my chart. Maybe I'll do another one later in the future. I hope you enjoyed that and have a great day.